recording in progress. Everyone likes progress. Jai, Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. The lighting here is not the best, but maybe that you can turn that on also. If you close that door. Yeah, it has some effect. And welcome to all of you from all over planet Earth. Yeah, we have some sun in Ustka. Okay, I think we're ready to go. As ready as we will ever be. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam O Shri Yutta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanditangscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Again, welcome everyone to our Saturday Sangha. I'm broadcasting, as they say, from northern Poland, as last week. We are camping out in a very comfortable cabin. What are we doing here? Well, aside from chanting Hare Krishna, we're also visiting the seaside and imagining the water being warm, but not going in the water. Bhakta Anukul, he goes into the water. He's very brave. And a few days ago we had Yoga Narasimha was here with Vijay Keshari and Keshava, and Yoga Narasimha was going surfing. That's an interesting thing. Yes. Yukta hara viharasya. I always like to quote, Yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapna vibodasya, yogo bhavati dukkha. If we can be yukta, appropriately connected, we might say, as a translation of yukta, in matters of eating, sleeping, work, and recreation, then all manner of dukkha, of misery, we can become free from it, can be removed. What got me on that subject? Okay. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So today, as we've been doing, we will read and attempt to sing in a somewhat a cappella manner the song of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, excuse me, Upadesa, song number 13, Advice to the Mind. And after that, we'll see if any of you have something to show and tell, something to share. And after that, we can continue our discussion of a huge topic, Vaishnava Hermeneutics. Yeah. Oh, you see, Anukul found his way online. Okay. So, mana Tumi shonnas Sajite Keno nacao. Okay, before we go there, let's get a little reminder. What was it last week? Last week it was mana, yogi, hote, tomar bhashana, yoga shastra, adhyayana, niyama yama sadhana, pranayam, asana, rachana. So he's preaching to his mind last week. Now you think you're going to become a big yogi. And Bhaktivinoda is telling his mind, just forget it. Just worship, just serve Krishna. And yeah, you want to do yoga. Why? Because you think you're going to get powerful. People want the perfections of yoga. Probably this is one of the conscious or unconscious reasons that yoga, modern yoga, what we see in the popular yoga studios, why it's popular. The more immediate reason, people want to be healthy, they want to be, they want a sense, I would say, a sense of having control over their lives. I think this is a big thing, and it's been noticed. There's a lot of scholars nowadays studying this phenomenon of modern yoga. And they say one thing they say is it has to do with this impulse people, we all have, we want to have a sense of control over our lives. And we feel that in modern day, in modern life, we have less and less control. We're being controlled by the media, we're being controlled by the state, we're being controlled by ideologies, we're being controlled by conspiracies, and so on. And so there's a sense of, I need to reclaim control over my life. And yoga looks like a very promising way to do that, because it's focusing on, in the aspect of yoga that is called asana, which, by the way, Patanjali just says, stira sukham asanam, his definition of asana. Stira sukham, it's a condition of happy steadiness, you could say, literally. Happy steadiness. Happy stability, actually, happy stability. I think there's one more sutra, but yeah, he doesn't get into it, but it becomes the center of modern yoga because it's very physical, and it seems possible within a very short time to be able to control the body in so many interesting ways. So in that way, it's popular. But what's behind all of that? We could theorize that behind it is a desire for the yoga perfections, which are described in the third of 4 chapters of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. He tells perfections for each of the yamas and niyamas, the 5 yamas, the 5 niyamas, for example. We might look at that sometime. It's interesting. But yeah, everyone wants some sort of perfection. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura says, forget it. Instead, he says, the eternal pure wealth of the spirit soul is simply to remain as the humble servant of Lord Hari. In comparison to this eternal wealth, what kind of spiritual result could possibly come from mundane so-called yoga practice? Yogatar kipal gotana. Just take refuge totally in the yoga of devotion. Koro bhakti yogashroy na takibe konboy. And you will become fearless. For then there is all likelihood of attaining immortal nectar, your immortal nectar, very easily. Shohaj amrita sambhavana. Sahaja, easy. Okay, that was last year. And then he said, concluding, he says, Bino der e minati chari anna joga gati koro radha Krishna aradhana. Bhaktivinoda's humble entreaty, his humble request, is that you just perform the blissful worship of Radha Krishna, my dear mind, and immediately reject all other goals of so-called yoga practice. So that was last week's. He's preaching to the mind to give up this idea of being a yogi. Now, in today's song, he says, give up this idea of being a so-called sannyasi. So this one is very good for me. He's telling what is a real sannyasi. There's superficial, so-called, and there's the real thing. Mana Tumi somnas Sajite Keno nacao. Bahirer saja jata antarete phanki tata dambha puji sarira nacao. My dear mind, why do you want to disguise yourself as a sannyasi? As much as you decorate yourself externally with this garb, this dress, to that same degree, you deceive yourself internally with this hoax. Wow. Bahirer saja, jata, to that extent external. Antarete, phanki, tata, to that extent you deceive yourself. Worshipping your own false pride. You simply make a show of your material body by artificially accepting the dress of the renounced order. Dambha puji, sarira nacao. Dambha means pride. Worshipping your own pride. Dambha pujiya, sarira nacao. Making a show of the material body. And then, next verse, amar dharo, antar vishuddha koro, Krishna sada koro bhana. Jivana sahaje jai, bhakti-badha nahi pai, tad upai koroho shandan. Now please try to understand my advice on how to become a true sannyasi. Just make your heart completely pure and constantly drink the nectar of Krishna consciousness. Now, of course, at this point, we may all want to object and say, what do you mean, just make your heart completely pure? Is it that simple? Drink the nectar of Krishna consciousness. Well, we can say it can go both ways. By drinking the nectar, Krishnamrita, sada koropan, pan is drinking, that has the result of purifying the heart. And the inverse, resolving that the heart be pure, let my heart be pure. And then one, with that determination, drinks the nectar of Krishna, the Krishna nectar. Search for that lifestyle which allows your spiritual life to be executed easily and automatically, free from any distracting obstacles to pure devotion. It's interesting that our translator uses the expression lifestyle. It's a very modern expression. Jiban shoha jai. Make your life simple. Bhakti-badha nahi pai. Bound by bhakti. What's he saying here? Free from any distracting obstacles, okay, to your devotion. So, tat upai koroho sandan. And I don't know this word sandana. But make your means, make this your means. Tat, and this or that, and upai is means, process. Make that your means of success. I should go a little faster, actually. Just be satisfied with whatever you get easily and never endeavor for any type of artificial pomp or grandeur. You may not know these words. Pomp means big external show. Grandeur, similar idea. Even if you do not have proper clothes to wear, just wear a loincloth, dear brother. And in cold weather, you can simply wear an old torn quilt. Simple. Yes, this is what the 6 Goswamis were doing. Tyaktva turnamasesha mandalapati shenim sada tuchavat Utvadina Ganesha Karanaya. Kopina Kanta Shito. Kopina Kanta. Kanta means a quilt. A quilt is a cloth which is taking many old scraps of cloth and sewing them together. So that's what a kanta, excuse me, is. Fourth verse, there is no need for fancy sandalwood pulp scented with perfume, my dear brother. You can use some ordinary earth or clay to mark your forehead with tilak. So you can find some earth right in your garden and make tilak. Bhaktivinoda says that's bona fide. Your fancy necklaces can be exchanged for a nice tulsi mala. Living like this in such a simple state of mind, all the nonsense material arrangements for so-called happiness will diminish. And you will thus be able to escape from the burning fever of materialistic existence. Now, this is interesting if we think about it as like Bhaktivinoda is a doctor, and he's prescribing for us a therapy. He's recognizing we are in a diseased condition, and we need a prescription how to get out of the diseased condition. So here he's giving, and the disease, what is it? It's the burning fever of material existence. Samsara jvala. Jvala means burning or fire. Samsara of samsara, of repeated birth and death. Sannyasa-bairagya-bidhi she ashamerniti tahe kabuna koro adar. In reality, it is the strict rule of renunciation that is the wealth of the sannyas ashram. By following this rule, one would certainly never look forward to receiving respect from others. Beware, dear brother. Deliverance from this material world is not possible for one who wants to get such respect by taking sannyas. Instead, he gets ensnared in mundane existence due to constantly maintaining a conceited pride of subtle profit, adoration, and distinction. She shab adore by shongshare nishtar nai, dambikir linga nirantar. Nirantar means without end. Now, someone might ask at this point, okay, this is being spoken by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And we know it's true that he did not himself take formal sannyas. He didn't take on the dress and so on. He was never initiated as a sannyasi. Actually was a householder most of his life, and he's quite an amazing story considering what a large family he had. Altogether, I believe he had 14 children, And we're not talking about that he had different wives. He had one wife. One of the children died young, but all the others, I believe, lived. So he didn't take sannyas formal. However, toward the end of his life, he did live alone. He went to Puri. He became, we might want to say, a Babaji, but I don't know that he even did that formally. I don't. But one of his sons, who became known as Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is our grandfather Acharya, or great-grandfather Acharya for many of us. He took sannyas, course, he took sannyas also in an unusual way. He kind of gave himself sannyas in front of a picture of his guru, Srila Gorky Shordas Babaji. But why did he do that? Did he want to show off, look at me, I'm a sannyasi, and so on? No, just the opposite. He was taking sannyas out of a spirit of humility, that I will accept the rules of sannyas order for the service of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and for the purpose of the mission. And that was a kind of upaya, or means, for spreading the mission, because of the culture in India of respect for sannyasis, which is the same purpose that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself took sannyas. Okay, 2 more verses. Number 6, you are actually an eternal servant of Lord Chaitanya. And your real interest as such is devotion to Hari. What other wonderful thing could you get from the external form of the sannyas ashram? Casting all false prestige to a far distant place, just make, your residence in the transcendentally peaceful realm beyond the Varna, Ashrama, Dharma system, and just live on the mercy of the Rupa-nuga Vaishnavas as your only life-giving substance. Tumi to Chaitanya das, Hari Bhakti tava ashramer linge kibapal. Pratishta korohadur, bosha tava shantipur. Shadu kripa tomar shambal. Well, he didn't put this in the translation. Oh, yes, he did, but okay. Residence in the transcendental peaceful realm. I think this could also be taken as Shantipur. Shantipur, the town, which is south of Navadvip, but can be taken literally also as any peaceful village or town. Sadhu Kripa Tomar Shambal. Make the substance of maintaining yourself, the Shambal, simply Sadhu Kripa. Just depend on the sadhus. And finally, it is actually not even necessary to introduce oneself as a Vaishnava. And one should never try to make a show of external pomp and grandeur. Bhaktivinoda's humble submission to you is that you should constantly sing songs about the glorious qualities of Radha and Krishna at the top of your lungs. Pukari, pukari shadagao. Yeah, Vaishnava parichoy abashaka nahi hoy. Arambare kabu nahi jao. Don't even introduce yourself as a Vaishnava. Because we may ask, okay, I'm not a sannyasi, or as Mahaprabhu said, naham vipro, na cha narapatir, na pivaisho, na shudro, naham varni, na cha griha, patir novanasto yatir va. I'm not a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, or Sannyasi. All right, so none of these things. What am I? Gopi Bhartu Parakamalayor. Dasa, dasa, anudasa. I'm the servant of the servant of those of the Lord who is the maintainer of the gopis, the Bhartri, the husband can mean. So one could take that as saying Lord Chaitanya is saying, I'm a Vaishnava, but he's not literally saying that. He's saying, I'm a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord of the Gopis. And so here Bhaktivinoda Thakura confirms that. He said, don't even say I'm a Vaishnava. Interesting. Okay, and what to do then? Binoder nebedan. His request, Radha Krishna Gunagan, singing the qualities of Radha and Krishna. Pukariya, shada gao. Always chant, always sing sada gao, pukariya, which I assume means very loudly. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Now, we don't have, the only musical accompaniment we have is what we had last week, and it's an electronic one. And I was going to spend some time and work out a good pitch and a good rhythm for myself earlier. I had this intention, but did I do it? No. So much for intentions. This is very low. Let's see. Sajite, bahirer, jata, antarete, tata. That makes it very high. Or we can go bahirer, jata, antarete, tata. Then it's too low. Bahirer, jata, antarete, tata. Okay, I think that works. Maybe we just turn off the tambura. Let's see. Whoops. No, we can't turn off the tambura. Turn off the tabla. Yeah. And we have a swar mandala. Why not? Surpeti. I don't even remember what that is. Okay. I don't know if you can hear any of that. This is too hot, actually. Yeah, I guess we could turn that off. And if you could also put some water in a cup. Okay, let's see what happens. Mana Tumi sannyasi Sajite Keno nacao bahirer saja jata antarete phanki tata bahirer saja jata antarete phanki tata dambha puji sarira nacao, dambha puji sarira nacao, amar bacana dharo antara vishuddha koro, amar bacana, dhara antara vishuddha koro, Krishna mrita sada koro pana, Krishna mrita sada koro pana, jivana sahajai bhakti-badha nahi pai, tat upai, jivana sahajai bhakti-badha nahi pai, tadupai koroho sandana, tadupaya koroho sandana, anayase jaha pao tahe tushta hoje jaho, anayase jaha pao tahe tushta hoye jao, arambare nakoro prayasa, koro prayasa, purna-bastra jodi nai, kopina parohe bai, purna-bastra jodi nai, na parohe bai, sita-bastra kanta bahirer, sita-bastra kanta bahirer, aguru chandana nai mrttika-tilaka pai, aguru chandana nai mrttika-tilaka pai, bahirer ale dharo mala, bahirer ale dharo mala, rupe asa-pas shukadir kubilas, rupe asa-pasa shukadir kubilas, karbi charo sangsarera jala, karbi charo sangsarera jala, sannyasa-bairagya-bidhi she ashame nidhi, sannyasa-bairagya-bidhi she ashame nidhi, tahe kabu nakoro ada, nakoro ada, she shaba adare bhai shangshare nishtar nai, she shaba adare bhai shangshare nishtar nai, dambike linga niranta, dambike linga niranta, Tumi to Chaitanya Das Hari Bhakti Tabaas. Tumi to Chaitanya Das Hari Bhakti Tabaas. Ashame Linge ki baba. Ashame Linge ki baba. Pratishta koro dura basataba shanti pura. Pratishta koro dura basataba shanti pura. Shadu kripa tomar sambha. Sadhu kripa tomar sambha. Vaishnava parichoy abhasyaka nahi hoy. Vaishnava parichoy abhasyaka nahi hoy. Arambare kabo nahi cha. Arambare kabo nahi ja. Vinoder nedana Radha Krishna guna gana. Vinodera nidedana Radha Krishna guna gana. Pukari pukari shadaga. Pukari pukari sadaga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Goda Hare Bo, Nitai Go, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo. Gaura Premanande, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura ki jai. Yeah, this is a good song for those of us who are making a show of being sannyasi. Maybe I recommend this song for the sannyas Sanga. Okay, Hare Krishna. So next thing, before I see if anyone wants to share something, I want to share one thing which Malati Mala shared with me, and that is her gratitude, her great gratitude to all of you who have been helping in so many ways not least offering prayers for her well-being. Some of you may not know, but she has been one of the victims of this pandemic, this COVID, in the last couple of weeks at least. And it really got very serious at one point, I would say, to the point where, well, we wanted her to go to the hospital. I mean, that idea was there. She should go to the hospital. She said, nope, I'm not going to the hospital. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die at home. That was her determination. Oh, okay. And then she got better. And she wants to thank everyone who helped her to get better. Yeah, prayers are efficacious, despite what the scientists would have us believe. There have been a lot of experiments done. People, they try to, test people in controlled environments, taking control groups and control environments and having them pray for something and seeing, is there an effect, an empirically measurable effect, and things like that. But I would say this is missing the whole point. It's not really about, Vaishnavas don't, of course, we pray for the well-being of other devotees and so on. We may say that we pray for this and for that. But what are we actually doing? I would say we're trying to see what is Krishna's will, where prayer is not so much petitionary as receptive of the Lord's will. Of course, vandanam is there. It's one of our 9 processes of devotional service. And the core feature of vandanam, as I see it from our shastras, is praise. It's glorifying. It's recognizing Krishna's unlimited qualities. It's describing, it's specifying qualities of Krishna and his devotees. It's doing with our, you can say like this, doing with our tongue, speaking in a sense the opposite of what is our tendency as conditioned souls, which is to fault find. And instead of that, we turn it around. Bhakti is very much about inverting our mundane, our material tendencies, inverting them, and thereby empowering ourselves, purifying ourselves, connecting with the Lord, who is all good qualities. And so we find it easy to praise the Lord, as many Protestant Christian groups in America say, praise the Lord. Yes, praise the Lord. Okay. So yes, thank you to all of you on behalf of Malati Mala, who I think she's with us, but she's a little shy to speak herself. Okay. So now I'd like to invite, if anyone would like to share something, anything, something you've experienced, realized, thought over the last week. Anything you've done, anything you were thinking of doing, but didn't do. Yeah.
Guru Maharaj, Vrindapati Prabhu expressed desire to...
Or are we all in a shy mood today? Maybe I should call on people. That would make you really scared, wouldn't it? Don't call on me. That's how it was in school, wasn't it? The teacher would be there and you were supposed to be ready with some answers to something. He or she would call on students. So, and then you had to be ready for it. Yeah, nobody wants that anymore.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, Vrindapati Prabhu wanted to share.
Yeah, any news, any news from, okay, here I'm just going to do it. Vrindapati, do you have any news from London?
Yes, thank you, Guru Maharaj. Sorry, firstly, to all the devotees. I haven't been at our regular meetings on Saturdays because my cousin got married, and everybody knows how.
We're not hearing you. I don't know.
Oh. Can you hear me now?
Yes, okay. Maybe that's. It looks like we should be able to hear you, but. Oh, maybe that's the problem. I forget. Oh, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I forgot. This is called a senior moment. Okay, try it again.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me now?
I can hear you and we can all hear you.
Thank you for, I was apologizing for not being able to make it to the class, our Sanga, in the last few weeks because my cousin got married and I didn't have a chance to join. But one thing that has happened is in our local yatra in Crawley, my yoga students came together and I invited them to attend a talk on yoga philosophy. Of course, when I mean yoga philosophy, I mean yoga philosophies according to our perspective. And so we had, in our Crawley Yatra, we have a lot of South Asian devotees. So we have a lot of Indian devotees. And I've noticed that we have a tendency, us Indians have this problem that when we go preaching, we preach to our own people, you know, and we don't really bring in any kind of new faces and you know, so much so it's a little bit difficult, I think, for at least my race of people. But we, my yoga students, I kind of had been trying to organize programs, organize a program for the yoga students for a very long time. And I was hesitating to do it, but one day, you could say the Super Soul inspired us in, you know, not just me, but there's also another group of, and we were thinking the same thing in the same week. We were all thinking the same thing, that we need to do this program. And we ended up phoning each other and everybody was like, oh yeah, I need, you know, we were thinking the same thing. So we put this program together where we invited, majority of them were all my yoga students, astrology students, meditation students, and some of them were friends of some of our, there was about 2 people from one of my friends who was helping with the organization. She also invited some work colleagues. So I just will share my screen quickly, perhaps, and just share these photos. I don't know if you can.
Yes, we can see
the photos, but this is our Bhakti Yoga Center in Crawley. And you can see that actually they were all Western faces. So we were really happy for perhaps after a very long time where we had mostly Indian people just coming to our programs, that we actually a small program together speaking about the basics of the yoga philosophy. And on the wall here on the screen, I have kind of put together an introductory talk about reincarnation, the soul, karma, these kind of things, and just did a whistle-stop kind of tour of our philosophy in a nutshell. And I was really happy that one of my own yoga students, have I stopped sharing? I'll share the screen again.
Yes, you did.
Okay, there's another picture. One of my own yoga students came forward after coming to Janmashtami program. I invited her. She's been to Hindu temples and things before, so I invited her to a Janmashtami program, and she actually led the kirtan. So she she actually sung Hare Krishna and led the kirtan for everybody, and in one of them. Then I led kirtan afterwards as well. So it was really nice, and we had a really nice program. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with everybody. That it might not be such a big step for you Western devotees already who are already preaching to your own race, but for me it was. To invite all the yoga students to come and to take books and take japa beads and try chanting and doing that. It was I think collectively, I can't just say it was just me. I know that a lot of the students were mine, but it was a collective effort. We had we tried to minimize how many people we had from the local yatra, just to make sure that we didn't overwhelm the people who were coming to just think that this is just an Indian affair. We have so many Indian faces, and you have one or two Westerners turn up. They think, okay, well, these are just only Indians here. We can't.
It's an Indian thing. Yeah.
So then they don't come. So we tried to, make an inclusive. We invited some devotees who were playing instruments. Somebody could prasadam. And I put the presentation together and did some diagrams, because I prefer using diagrams to explain, the different dimensions of the body, the soul, and the subtle body and the physical, and also try to give an explanation to the devotees that spiritual practice and subtle practice is usually very confused as one and the same thing in Western consciousness. That going for a walk is a spiritual practice.
Spiritual, right?
Yeah. So I was trying to, explain that, and it was really nice, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, or you say Guru and Gauranga. The program went really, really well. I was really grateful to, all my teachers and all my gurus for all the information that they've taught me, and I tried to break it down in a palatable way for all of them.
Yeah.
And hopefully we're going to, with your blessings and the blessings of all the devotees, we're hoping that we continue on inviting people to these programs once a month, once every 2 weeks or something like this.
Yeah.
And put some socials in as well, where we just have some prasada, just talking, and just maybe share some simple things like this. So yeah, that was my small but
very good. Samichinam.
Yeah.
Samichinam means very good, excellent. As you said, it's true. There's been a lot of discussion in recent years among Western background devotees that we have a problem. And the problem is that our Western temples are becoming enclaves of people from South Asia. And therefore, if a Westerner comes to the temple, they look around and they see all South Asians and they think, oh, this is a South Asian thing. Well, or an Indian thing. Well, it's not for me. and that's as far as it goes. So there's been, in recent years, various efforts to shift that, to do something else. Of course, most famously now, perhaps Krishna West is the effort of His Holiness Sri Dayananda Goswami, but there are other efforts. And there's some online efforts. What is it? Raghunath and Kaustuba in New York are doing this online reading Bhagavatam. something of the sages, wisdom of the sages, yeah. And apparently it's hugely successful because they're just projecting a certain mood, which is just so attractive to people. It's, how to say, a non-sectarian sort of upbeat, thoughtful mood. And yeah, they have so many people following and reading Bhagavatam. So things can be done. So what you've done is a very nice step in that direction. You might start with once a month, because if you do it too frequently, that'll start looking maybe too, too missionary or something.
Yeah. We started actually, we started doing the program in such a way that the people who are coming to my classes are coming to the classes in I call it my Gurukul in one sense, because I teach lots of different subjects, astrology and yoga and so many things. And so we're trying to kind of bridge so that slowly they can understand the philosophy and start chanting. And then if they really like something and they come back with feedback and say, well, we really like kirtan or we really like prasadam, then we really like the philosophy, then we can introduce them to the devotees in a gradual way.
Yeah.
And also that kind of, it's a safety net, because if I freak them out with the way
right.
I am, then they can go to ISKCON. But if they go to ISKCON and get freaked out there, then they can come to me and my classes. So we kind of just make sure we kind of look out for each other, I guess.
Yeah, that's good. Very good.
So thank you everybody for a few moments of your time.
Good. Anyone else with some news? Let's see. What's the news from Mayapur, Madana Jivani? You've been there now a couple of weeks, I think.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Well, I don't know what to say. We're still in rainy season, so it's pretty wet. The fields are very wet. And I've been to Gora village last week. And it's a place they're developing here. I don't know if everyone's aware of that. And it's organized and beautiful, and nothing's wet there. It's the only place in the whole of Mayapur that I've seen that it's well kept during the rainy season.
There's what during the rainy season?
In the rainy season, the fields get very wet, the gardens get messy, and sometimes we find puddles on the roads, but there everything's clean. It doesn't look like there's it's dry. There's no accumulation of water. They're doing good drainage on the roads. So there's a system in place, and I was very happy to see that it's organized and clean. I've been to the temple today, and I've done some Nishinha Puja for Malatimala Mataji and her husband.
Very nice.
Yes. Since I heard they were sick, I've been wanting to go, but it's a little difficult during the week because of my services. So today, by Krishna's mercy, I managed to go, but I heard they already getting better, so that's good. The deities are beautiful. The temple is not as full as usual. I saw Lalita Amrita Mataji today at the temple. So it's nice. And they have set a very nice system in which the guests can come in a sort of queue system like some traditional temples. And they walk by, but the devotees have a kind of safe space during the program, so we can maintain our sadhanas while the visitors are passing by. And they can also stop because it's not very full. It's a bit hot. So there are visitors, but not as many as we used to have normally. Schools are operating normally, businesses as well. Nobody wears masks except for the temple because it's a rule, but nowhere else. Most devotees don't believe in COVID.
I don't understand what that means, to not believe in it. It's like saying I don't believe in, in the common cold, or I don't believe in cancer or something. What does it mean to not believe? I don't get it.
It's like there's a lot of belief in conspiracy theories.
Oh, that is there. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a conspiracy which causes the disease, but I mean, how can they not believe that people are getting sick?
Well, it's very strange, but it's like all these protocols are unnecessary. Like I'm saying that many devotees, not everybody. Yeah. Like
no, I'm aware of all that.
Yeah. But in that
anyway,
sense,
I didn't want to get into that subject. That's
boring. No, sorry. I also don't like to talk about
That's boring.
Yeah, just that life's going on normally now. That's in good. Mayapur. In Radha Madhava and Nishingadevi Panchatattva continue to be worshipped throughout. I heard that throughout the whole pandemic, whatever happened, even during lockdowns, everything went on normally. And I was following, and I see that the worship continues as beautiful as always, the opulent flowers, the decorations, Jalana Yatra, everything. Both festival happened during the pandemic inside the temple room. They had a little swimming pool for the deities. Nothing stopped. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's one thing called my attention in Mayapur, is that the devotees are so extremely devotional, and the life of the community is so much around Krishna's pastimes. So that's beautiful to see.
Yeah, very nice. Lalitamrita, you're in Mayapur. Do you want to add something to that?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare
Please
Krishna.
accept my humble obeisances.
Jai Jai.
I did not plan to speak.
No,
so...
I know.
I can add because I am here longer. Actually, for 3 years. I'm in Mayapur now without going anywhere. And we just had a lockdown in May and June, when devotees could not go inside the temple, but then they opened, and now we are going normally and for darshan. So it is it was crowded for Janmashtami and Radhashtami festivals. And today also I saw many buses coming, so we are having pilgrims, seems like coming in buses. And yes, that's our life.
So life goes on. Life goes on.
Yeah, I mean, this is about the temple, but the whole situation completely changed since now. The first year I was here, every winter around this time, we had invasion of Western devotees coming, who were staying here for half a year or a few months, and many seminars, and so many devotees were coming from USA and Europe and even China. But now this is the 3rd year, I think, now that we don't see any more Westerners. And I don't think the tourist visas are available. Usually you need to get this kind of X2 visa to come. So now the life is still here as in a Bengali village throughout the whole year.
Oh.
The temple ceremonies is crowded, but we are all living like in a village again. Nothing much is happening. No no big seminars. Everything is online, so we don't have such big gatherings. So for me, this is my experience that we are living in a village.
Which has its charms, I guess.
Yes, it does. It does, but one needs to love it.
Yeah. Okay, well, Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Good. I think now I want to come back to Chaitanya Charitamrita briefly. This is Adi Lila chapter 4. We started before Radhashtami. I was encouraging you to read this chapter 4. And I realized last week that it's been such a long time since I read this chapter that I had actually forgotten that it's explaining both verses 5 and 6 of chapter 1. I was saying yesterday that it's explaining chapter 5, but it's also explaining verse number, start over. I explained last week that this chapter is explaining verse number 5 of Adi Lila chapter 1, but it's also explaining verse number 6 of chapter 1. And I was trying to highlight how there's a kind of structure of how Krishnadas Kaviraj is doing this. So now I wanted to just look briefly at the beginning of how Kaviraj Goswami is explaining verse number 6. And verse number 6 is as follows. Shri Radhaya pranaya mahima kidrishovana yaiva swadyo yenad bhuta madhurima kidrishova madiya shokyam chasya mat anubhavatat kidrisham veti lobhat tat bhavadya samajani sachi garbhasindau harindu. Desiring to understand the glory of Radharani's love, the wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes through her love, and the happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love. The Supreme Lord, Hari, richly endowed with her emotions, appeared from the womb of Shrimati Sachi Devi as the moon appeared from the ocean. So before we go to the explanation, we can just a little bit look at the verse. There's a question word which comes 3 times, kidrisha. Which Prabhupada translates as of what kind. And it's a question word, so it's expressing how the Lord wants to understand something. And what is it he wants to understand? There are 3 things he wants to understand about Srimati Radharani, which as Krishna, he feels incapable of doing. Even though he's the Supreme Lord, all-knowing, and so on. He needs to make an extra arrangement, a new arrangement, in order to understand Radharani, and that new arrangement is to appear as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then the verse is saying there are three things that he wants to understand about Radha. One is pranaya mahima, the mahima, the greatness of Radha's pranaya, of her love. How great is this love of Radha? Then he wants to understand adbhuta madhurima, the adbhuta, the wonderfulness of madhurya, of this conjugal mood. And then kidrisha mat anubhavata. Anubhava means experience, and mat is referring to Krishna, Mam. The experience of me. So of course, as we all know, we never really exactly know how others experience ourselves. We can't really jump over our shadow to see, what it's actually like to be experiencing ourselves. And that same problem, you could say, is what Krishna is feeling. But for us, we can say, well, that's just life, that's how it is. But for Krishna, no, it's not enough. He wants to comprehend Radharani's experience of him. And so these three questions are there for Krishna to be answered by appearing as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So now I'm going to Adi Lila chapter 4, verse 1, 2, 3. And this is Lord Krishna speaking. Purnanandamaya ami chinmaya purna-tattva radhikar preme ama karai unmatta. I am the full spiritual truth and am made of full joy. Purnanandamaya, chinmaya, purna-tattva. But the love of Srimati Radharani drives me mad. Koraya unmatta. Radhikar preme ama karaya unmatta, makes me mad. Na jani radhar preme ache koto bolo, je bole amare kore sarvada vipola. I do not know the strength of Radha's love. Kotobolo, with which she always overwhelms me. Amare kore sarvada vipola. I'm overwhelmed, sarvada, all the time, by the strength of her love. Radhikar prema guru, ami shishya nata. Shoda ama nananritye nacao udbata. The love of Radhika is my teacher, and I am her dancing pupil. Her prema makes me dance various novel dances. That's so charming. And now we get a Sanskrit verse, and here I just want to point out again structure, how Kaviraj Goswami, sometimes he'll give a Sanskrit verse and then he'll give translation plus some explanation in the verses that follow in Bengali. Sometimes it's the other way around. He'll give some Bengali verses, and that he'll conclude with the Sanskrit verse, which is, giving the confirmation, if you like, of what he's saying. So here comes the Sanskrit verse, which is from Govinda Lilamrita. So it's Krishnadas Kaviraj's own verse. Asmat vrinde priyasaki hare padamulat kutosau kundaranye kimiha gurute nritya shiksham guruka tvang tvan murte pratitarulatam dikvidikshu spuranti shailu shiva brahmati parito nartayanti swapaschad. And the translation is in the form of a dialogue. Oh, my beloved friend Vrinda, where are you coming from? And Vrinda answers, I am coming from the feet of Sri Hari. Where is he? In the forest on the bank of Radha Kunda. What is he doing there? He is learning dancing. Who is his master? Your image, Radha, revealing itself in every tree and creeper, in every direction, is roaming like a skillful dancer, making him dance behind. So the idea is this is being spoken by Radha, who is asking Vrinda, where have you been? I've been at Radhakund, where I saw Krishna. And what was he doing there? He was dancing. Not just dancing, he was learning dancing. Oh, well, if he's learning, then he must have had a guru for teaching him. Yes, he had a guru. And who was that? Your image, she's speaking to Radha, revealing itself in every tree and creeper in every direction, is roaming like a skillful dancer, making him dance behind. So God is learning to dance. Was it Friedrich Nietzsche who said, I would believe in God? I would believe in a God that dances? Something like that. Well, not only he dances, but he learns to dance. And he has a dance master, a dance guru. And who is that? Srimati Radharani. And it's also interesting, I think, that it's her image revealing itself in every tree and creeper in every direction. So its nature is manifesting for Krishna as Radha dancing, and he is following that. Okay, and then I'm jumping over one verse to verse 127. It's Krishna again speaking. He says, Ami jaiche poroshpara birudha dharmashray radha prema taiche shoda birudha dharma moy. Just as I am the abode of all mutually contradictory characteristics, virudha dharmashray, so Radha's love is always full of similar contradictions. Shada prema, taiche, taiche means similar. Jaiche, taiche. Radha prema, taiche, shoda virudha dharmamoy. She is full of contradictory characteristics. And then he elaborates on that. See, what he's doing now is he's elaborating on the first of these three questions, which was pranaya mahima, the greatness of Radha's love. And now we hear that it's contradictory. That love has a contradictory character. What does that mean? Well, 128, Radha Prema Vibhu, and Radha Prema Vibhu, jar bharite nahi thayi, totapi she kane kane badhaye shodayi. Radha's love is all-pervading, vibhu, leaving no room for expansion, jar bharite nahi thayi. But still, it is expanding constantly. Kane kane means moment by moment, kshane kshane. Tatapi she kshane kshane badhaye shodai. Sada means always, and sadayi means really always, specifically always. Jahavai guru vastu nahi sunishchita. Totapi gurur dharma gauravavarjita. There is certainly nothing greater than her love, but her love is devoid of pride. That is the sign of its greatness. Sunischita means it's completely certain. Guru vastu, it has the vastu, the thing, the substance of it is guru, it is great. Okay, so what's the greatness? Guru or dharma, the dharma of the greatness is gaurava varjita. It is varjita, it is devoid of gaurava, of pride. So like this, he's being very systematic. Jaha hoite shunirmal vitya nahi ar totapi sharboda bamma bakra babohar. Nothing is purer than her love, but its behavior is always perverse and crooked. Vamya, Vamya, this comes from Vama, which means left, like left-handed. There's sometimes in reference to tantric traditions, there's Vama Tantra, left-handed Tantra. This is the dark, we would say, tamasic kind of tantric practices, which are anti-Vedic, you can say, taking intoxicants, eating meat, all kinds of things. But Vamya means related to the left, in effect. Prabhupada translates it as perverse, which is, where do you find a religion where we can refer to the Supreme, the eternal consort of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as perverse and actually be glorifying her? Her behavior. Vamya bakra. Bakra means crooked or bent. And babahar means behavior or ordinary activity, sort of daily life. Okay, one more verse from this, and then we'll go to our next subject. Again, we have a Sanskrit verse, and this is quoting from Danakeli Kaumudi of Srila Rupa Goswami from verse number 2. This is one of Rupa Goswami's dramas. He wrote 3 dramas, I believe. So it goes like this. Vibhurapi kalayan sada bivridhim gururapi gauravacharya vihina muhurupachita vakrimapi sudho jayati muradvishi radhikanuraga. All glories to Radha's love for Krishna, the enemy of the demon Mura. Although it is all-pervading, it tends to increase at every moment. Although it is important, it is devoid of pride. And although it is pure, it is always beset with duplicity. So notice here that we get a summary of what we've had in the last, maybe it was just 3 verses, a few verses that were in Bengali. Now we get a summary of that. And it's also a confirmation of what Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying about Srimati Radharani's love. It's being confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami, and as Rupa Anugas, we take Rupa Goswami's statements as final. We take his word as he gives us, and even when he gives us in the midst of a drama, or maybe especially. Yeah, so I hope this gives you a little inspiration. If you haven't read chapter 4 of Chaitanya Charitamrita, feel free to do so. It's exalted subject, and it's important because it's about understanding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's inner purpose. And since Krishnadas Kaviraj wrote so extensively on this subject, it seems he wanted us to understand and to appreciate, and then be inspired in our service to Lord Chaitanya. And I'm hoping that what I just read was also a little bit of a help to see what you may already know, but there's a bit of structure to Kaviraj Goswami's writing, relating Sanskrit, Bengali, and sort of supporting one with the other back and forth in a way to help understanding and appreciating and relishing. Hare Krishna. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Yeah, Avaduta Rai is asking a question. It's a nice question. I don't know if I want to get into that just now. Dira Lalita, better to suffer than protest. Then Prabhupada writes, Anukampani susamikshamano, whenever a devotee is in distress or has taken into difficulty, he thinks the Lord's mercy is upon him. Christians have a phrase, turn the other cheek. Is that meant only for pure person on level of bhakti? Well, let's start with the verse, Tatenukampan susamikshamano. The verse is, I always forget it. I think it's one of Lord Brahma's prayers, but it's describing patience, basically, of the devotee. But also it's describing anticipation, and I believe it's Jiva Goswami who explains specifically susamikshamana, he says, is indicating a great sense of anticipation that, yes, the Lord's mercy is coming to me. I can feel it's going to come, it's going to come. And meanwhile, Punjane vatmakritang vipakam hritvak vabur vapur bir, vididang namaste. The devotee goes on offering obeisance with mind, body, words. And the verse is expressing confidence. It's patience and it's also confidence. The Lord is bestowing his blessings on me. My immediate circumstances may be troublesome. That's not really the problem. There really isn't a problem. The problem, if there's a problem, it would be that I forget Krishna. So devotee is in that mood that's being described. Sure, we can say this is a very advanced mood, but it's also a mood for us to aspire for. As for the Christian expression attributed to Jesus, to turn the other cheek, I can't really say much about that. I don't know what the more learned theologians of the Christian tradition say about that. It's, of course, tied into a lot of discussion about to what extent or how pacifism might be appropriate or inappropriate. And I believe there's a lot of disagreement amongst Christians on that topic. Something I've come across, which I'm a little bit looking into, just I'm intrigued. I've found there's, within the Anabaptist tradition, the Anabaptists are, I guess we can say, Protestant. They're basically protesting against the idea of baptizing the baby who has no choice in the matter. They want to say there should be choice to accept. We would say Jesus as our guru, as our teacher, and take shelter of him. There's a lot more to it, though, in their tradition. And there are so many branches of them. What I discovered, though, online, of course, is they have a whole, there's a whole scholarly tradition within them. They're writing very learned books on theology. And there's a series of books called After Christendom. And what they're basically saying is that the European culture in which Christianity prevailed is no longer. So what now for Christians? And so they're thinking in very careful, systematic, analytical ways about their own tradition. And anyway, one thing I picked up, which I really appreciate, is it seems they want to give a lot more attention to the teachings of Jesus rather than what seems to be the preoccupation of so much sort of standard Christianity, which is the death and resurrection. Not that they're rejecting that, but they're saying, he is teaching. Let us look at his teachings and follow his teachings. So I like that. That's for what that's worth. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sita Sundari wants us to be reminded of this prayer, which I don't remember who authored, but I'm sure you've all come across it. Dear God, help me to give me the strength to change the things I can change and to accept the things I cannot change. and to know the difference between the two. Yeah, that's nice. It's kind of a prayer for clear understanding of this distinction. You know, recognizing what sometimes is called our sphere of influence. I would, you know, just for the sake of being a little bit snarky and critical, the strength to change the things I can change. I think the first question would need to be, what are the things that I can change that I feel really should be changed? Because we may be able to change all sorts of things. Does that mean it's a good idea to change all the things that I think that I could change? But beyond that, certainly this is a good point. Oh, and now we're getting a very long statement in German. From Sinisha. Yeah, I think I have to read that later. Oh, here's this question. In the scriptures, says that all Erweiterung and all the expansions from Lord Krishna come from Lord Krishna. But on the other side, it says that they exist eternally. How yeah. Yeah, the question of eternality and temporality, I think, is at the core of that question. There's a kind of simultaneity, but you can say that with Krishna, we speak of him being himself time, and himself being time, temporality is included within him. Temporality and eternality are within Krishna. And so, well, with regard to expansion, I think the example of the sun is the easy way to understand. The rays of the sun are sort of, we can say, perpetually expanding out from the sun. And this refers, it's not just Vishnu expansions, this is about ourselves as well. We are eternal jiva, spirit soul, and we are expansions. Sometimes the word spark, eternal, eternal, like an eternal ray, an eternal spark from the Lord. So just like the sunlight as it comes into our window, we could theoretically, you know, take a string that would connect that ray of light that has come through our window all the way back to the sun. But all we experience is that which is coming immediately through the window. But there's a constant stream. So we are like that, and that is how also all the different expansions, Vishnu expansions of the Lord and so on are expanding from the Lord. And that is, we understand, eternally the case. It is beyond time because the Lord is beyond time in that sense that he is the Lord of time. I don't know if that helped. Okay. Sinisha is nodding. Okay. All right. I think it's time now to do a little bit. Oh gosh, the time again flies by. At the rate we're going, I think I have to change how we do our Saturday Sangas if we're going to do more of this hermeneutics. But so be it for now. What I want to do, let's see if I can share screen. Okay. Oh, I have so many things. Too many things. ISKCON Hermeneutics Foundation and ISKCON Hermeneutics. Let's try this one. Student Handbook. Oh, let's try that one. Okay. Share. Whoops. I don't think that got what I wanted. Oh. Oh, okay. All right, patience. We're getting there. Let's open recent file and instructors. Let's do that. So, well, okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. There we go. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Okay, this is the instructor's handbook for a course in hermeneutics. And what I wanted to show, but first I have to check the contents. Uh-oh, this is not going to be it either. Oh dear. Yeah, no, that's not it. I should have closed that before. Thank you for your patience. We're gonna go to another one. Recent files, not instructors, but participant handbook. That's the one. Here we go, we got it. Okay. So I've been a little bit introducing the idea of hermeneutics, which is the idea of interpreting Shastra. We're using Shastra in a broad sense, the term, to include the written texts, the teachings of Guru, and the teachings of sadhus. And I believe last time I mentioned, or the time before, the importance of Shastra. If we're not following Shastra, we are put under the control of Shastra, which means weapons. So we make a choice. We want to follow and be under the control of Shastra. But still, one might wonder, why do we bother? Why bother learning about a process of hermeneutics? We just read. we always hear, read Prabhupada's books. There's a whole program going on this week, promotion of reading Prabhupada's books. And I was also interviewed for this. You can see on YouTube, just came out today, together with Yadunandan Swami and Chandramauli Swami, we discussed, and Jainitai Prabhu. So one might ask still, do we really need this? Maybe not, but then again, maybe it can help. And one reason it may help is because as we read or as we hear from sadhus, from gurus, statements that are troublesome or troubling in some way or other, and how they can be troubling is suggested in this list. And this is a summary of different types of contentious, that means causing some maybe disagreement, or maybe something worse than disagreement. And this is not necessarily a complete list of types, but it probably covers most of them. Okay, so we can go through these briefly. Each of these are starting with this phrase: difficult or contentious shastric statements may, one, seem ambiguous or paradoxical, or to contradict other statements of Guru Sadhu Shastra. Yeah, so an example of that could be the one we just discussed from Shinisha, that, what about expansions of the Lord? They expand from the Lord, but then they're said to be eternal. How does that work? So that seems ambiguous or paradoxical, we can say, and that troubles us. Something to feel like we need to be resolved in one way or another. Or difficult or contentious shastric statements may appear to exaggerate the benefits of devotional practices or other virtuous conduct. I always think as we do Tulsi worship and we circumambulate Tulasi tree, Tulasi plant, Tulasi Devi, Yani Kani Cha Papani Brahmahatyadi Kani Cha Tani Tani Pranashanti Pradakshani Pradakshinam Pradakshina Pade Pade, by means of Pradakshina, of going around Tulsi, step by step, Yani Kani Chapapani. One can become freed from all sins, including Brahmahatya, killing a Brahmin. And we may wonder, really? So I can just go murder someone and walk around Tulsi and I'm free from sin? Isn't that an exaggeration? Sounds like an exaggeration. Jiva Goswami says, it's not exaggeration. Don't think the statements of the Puranas are exaggerated, he says. But we may still want to understand more about that. Statements may apparently use fear to promote conformity. For example, descriptions of the dire, frightening, and possibly exaggerated consequences of failing to comply with religious observances. Yeah, for example, is it the final chapter of Canto 5 describing the tortures of hell? How do we understand that? Is it really like that? And isn't that a kind of technique to use fear for conformity? So we might think like this with many statements. I'm not going to try to address any of these now. I want to just go through the sorts of statements that could trouble us. Shastric statements may, this is number 4, be unduly repetitive of the same point or conclusion, sometimes disconcertingly or with little apparent recognition of the listener's knowledge or stage of advancement. Sometimes we may feel that reading Srila Prabhupada's books, his purports, he makes a good number of statements many times. He repeats in his purports, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How many times does he say that? And we may want to say, I already know that. Okay, maybe. Maybe we know that. Or maybe not. Number 5, they may seem impractical or unreachable. And now we get an example. Giving 50% of one's wealth, especially if tainted by cynicism born of Shastric misappropriation, for example, by leaders desperate to secure more funds. The example is of some manager telling a householder devotee, you should give 50% to the temple because it says in Shastra, Prabhupada says, da, 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 da. And we look at this and we look at this Shastric statement and we wonder, is this how to understand this? Does this mean no matter what, the fact that I have 4 kids at home I have to feed, and how am I going to feed them if I get 50%? I can't pay my rent, and so on. Number 6, statements may seem to compromise ultimate truth. For example, by suggesting that non-Vishnu deities are supreme, or sometime implicitly endorsing worship of them as supreme. So this would be an example of what seems to contradict the first of the 24 principles that we have for our hermeneutics, which is that Sri Krishna is the aim of all Shastra and all pursuit of Shastric knowledge, something like that. Number 7, statements may appear exclusive, for example, in pronouncing the fate of those who do not follow Lord Chaitanya. They may appear to be, or at least resemble, a form of sectarian self-eulogy. Yes, sometimes Krishnadas Kaviraj may say anyone who doesn't surrender, doesn't follow Lord Chaitanya is a demon. Okay, how to take that, how to understand that. One could take it literally. One could take it at face value and say, and go out on the street and start proclaiming, if you do not follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you are a demon. Yeah. That's an interesting way of preaching. One might get attention that way.